Okay. Hello. Look, there's Dina. I'm so excited at all of the stuff that she shared with us today. It worked well for me. I'm going to go ahead and dive in because I'd set aside an hour, and while I thought it was going to be hard to take that 10 or 12 minutes from the table talks in Atlanta to an hour, it actually is going to go by fast. But I don't like learning new tricks. I actually roll my eyes at new stuff, but I do like having a new skill. Hit admit. Um, so ChatGPT is a game changer for me. I actually had avoided it. I had not used it before I got a business pivot the end of January, if you know, you know. And I thought, well, okay, I need to learn a new skill. And so that's what I did. And since February, I have written 3 ebooks. I have created a funnel for my um, Abby customers. So, like, you could go to my website, I could give you a link, and I have a different funnel for people who might be affiliates or people who might be power players or people who might just be crunchy. And it looks different for each of them. And ChatGPT helped me do all of that. I have written blog post. I've updated my LinkedIn. If you follow me, like almost anything that I post that isn't super personal is something that I write. Like I am the melody and ChatGPT is the harmony. As someone who is a lover of words, it is still me. Um, it has helped me with some event organizing strategy and conference checklists. So, to give a couple of examples of the way that I used it in Atlanta, Andrea Shapiro and I were hosting the panelist. And so we had 4 or 5 different women who brought different skills to the table. And Andrea and I kind of had our agenda questions that we wanted to ask. And we asked those women which of these questions they would feel most comfortable answering. Because the whole point of a panel is to make people as comfortable as possible and ask them questions that they're really confident about. And so in a Facebook message, 3 of the 4 answered the questions that they were most comfortable with. And the fourth being Jen McCann, who was like, Lorri, just tell me what to say. So I copy pasted all of their answers, the emojis, the Lorri said, the Tina said, like all of the whole thing. I didn't filter out anything. And I dumped that into a ChatGPT thread and said, can you extract the answers of the questions that they would answer and put it in a spreadsheet for me? No lie, 90 seconds later, it had correlated and collated and shifted like the whole thing. And then I said, can you put Jen as an answer for any question that less than 3 people said they would want to do? So instead of having Jen to like do something, it just did that. And so over about like 20 minutes, I just kept working with it and said, okay, if all 4 of them answered yes, can you flag that we want that to be a question for the whole panel? And then I just kept working with it. And then I asked it, can you now give me a list for each of the 4 panelists with their questions? So, like, I didn't have to copy paste anything, I didn't have to pull it out. Like, it did all of it. And it just went so well and it was easy. The other thing that I did was in the Power Collective, Kelly's Facebook group for our whole team, I asked, for all of y'all to tell me your best hype music, right? Like, what are the songs that you love the most that pump you up? And then I copy pasted that entire comment section. Like, I just highlighted it and copy pasted the whole thing. And if you've ever done that with Facebook, you know that it says, Kelly said this, Billy liked this, and it got all of that. And I just dumped it into a ChatGPT thread and said, can you extract just the song titles and or artists and put it in a list? immediately from that whole messy chat thread, it just gave me the songs. And so then I said, okay, how many songs is that? And what amount of time is that? Because I knew that our party was 3 hours. And so it said what it said. And I said, can you fill this in for 3 hours worth of music with women forward artists, clean music, the very best wedding line dances, and of course, our favorite Taylor Swifts. And it made the list. And then I said, okay, now what do I do with it? Because I had been asked to like help do that or whatever. And it said, okay, do you want to make a Spotify list? And oh, my nephew he's headed to Walton Rehab. Hallelujah. Okay. So it gave me the instructions on how to set up my Spotify, which I had never done before. This entire process of grabbing all of the answers from Facebook to finishing the Spotify list took me about an hour and 15 minutes. It told me exactly how to do it. It sorted them so that like the groups were kind of spread out, the line dances were kind of spread out. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like it did all of the work. And then it told me how to set up a Spotify list. It told me, it gave me a fun name. It told me how to make a logo. And it told me exactly how to make sure that I was getting the clean version. Like it was so easy. And then it made me a QR code so that in Atlanta, I could share the QR code of the playlist with everybody. Like it was just really cool. So, in that, I hope that you can see that like there's so many different ways to use it in life or family or business. And I don't want to overwhelm you with like tech talk, but I'm really just here to show you how to use a tool like ChatGPT. And there are others out there, but this is the one that I use. And I don't know about the others, so I don't know how to compare them. But to show you that like it's a second brain for me, and not in like a big brother way, but like it literally reduces my mental load. One of the things that I like about it the most is that if I get an idea, until I write it down, this is what that idea feels like. It's distracting. I can see it. Like until I write it down, it's there. And so, I'm a paper planner. I have notes on my phone, all of the different things. I have stickies all over the place. But I have started using ChatGPT because I can open up a thread, brain dump this idea, and it quiets my brain. And it doesn't get mad if I don't come back to it for an hour or a day or a month. It doesn't, like, it's just there waiting. And because I speak kindly to it, when I come back to it and say, okay, I'm ready to do this, and it's like, all right, rock star, let's go. What do you want to do? Like, it's just so excited. And I know that it's still there. And so there's really a lot of like neurospicy, creative people who have discovered that it is not just a place to write or to get ideas for things, but it is a placeholder. It is like, it's life altering for me. Okay, so I don't know how to take my time in learning something. I usually don't take things slow once I get started. Does that make sense? That like it might take me a really long time to decide to do something, but when I decide to do something, I'm just jumping in. And so ChatGPT was like that for me. And I use it prolifically. And I have learned how to make it work well for me. And I share things with it, not that are like, my mom will be like, Lori, I can't believe you might would tell ChatGPT that. I'm like, Mom, I'm not telling it like my social security number, like all of that stuff. Like that isn't it. But what I do tell it is that my audience is people like me. Like I want to appeal to women in their 40s and 50s, mostly empty nest. Like I will spell out exactly who my audience is. And because I am a lover of words, I can articulate what I want my voice to be, what I want the tone to be, who I want to be appealed to this, and who maybe to avoid. Because here's the truth is that there's a lot of information out there in the World Wide Web about niching down. And I think that for a season, to be in social media or social selling, you're really supposed to like define this tiny little funnel. And I don't know how to do that because my brain is big and I like a lot of things. And so I personally, if you looked at the music that I listen to, it's a wide variety of stuff. So if someone had niched down, they might would miss me. Does that make sense? And so I don't do that either. So what I'm going to do is share my screen. Kelly, when I'm sharing my screen, am I going to be able to see to admit people, or do I need to make you a co-host? Do you mind if I do that?
Yeah, make me a co-host.
Okay. So sharing is not turned on. Well, I'm the host, so I just made you the host. So now I can't share on my own Zoom. I did it wrong. Okay. Did you fix it for me? Thank you. I'm such a ding dong. Okay. Can you see my screen? Okay, good. So this is ChatGPT. So I do not have the free version, whatever it is, it's $190 a year or whatever. The biggest difference between the free version and the middle paid version, because there's another version that's like $200 a month, and I'm definitely not doing that. The biggest difference between the paid version and the free version is that the free version, you only get like 4 edits per chat before you run out of something. So the best advice that I could give someone is when you're setting up your own profile, which you'll want to tell it some things, and I'll at the end of it, and I meant to say this, like you don't need to take notes. I'm going to share all of my notes, and I have like a free ebook that walks through all of this, is telling it about yourself and logging into your account, even if it's the free account when you use it. If you're not logging in, it's not learning anything about you or your goals or your voice or your desires at all. That is why you might be getting not as great results as someone else. The second piece of advice is that make your first instructions as long as you can. So, like, I'm going to give you an example that we'll come back to. So, my brother-in-law recently retired from UPS, and I wanted to help him figure out like what is a unique gift that he could give people as a realtor. So you can see up at the top, like it's a pretty long prompt because I could have said, hey, what's good gifts for realtors to give, right? But what I said is my brother-in-law is a newish realtor, very well connected in his geographic area. This is a second career after retiring from UPS after 30 years in loss prevention. What are some ways you see realtors successfully using ChatGPT? He's not huge in social media, so I could help him with any of them. He's a huge foodie, a great chef, hunts everything, lives on the lake, sweetest hubby and father. So you can see where that gives you a much narrower set of answers than how can realtors use ChatGPT, which will come in handy if you're in the free version because you only get like 4 edits. So you can see that I kept working with it. It gave me this big long list of things. I went through them and saw some things that would appeal to Donnie. And I was like, I love the recipe cards as a homemade. We'll dig into that. A homemade sauce. If he had to pick one channel to begin with, what do you recommend? And of course, it's going to say TikTok because it is huge with realtors. And then we started working on a document and I shared it with him and we just kept working with it. And you can see right here, I realized that when I asked ChatGPT for something, it had left some things behind, which it does from time to time. You always have to check it. Um, I don't use it for like research or facts a lot. Like I don't use that like I'm not researching or doing schoolwork, so I don't have to like double check sources and that kind of stuff. If you're doing that, you definitely will. But you can see I told it you left it a lot behind. And so it'll go back through and occasionally it would say, you're right. And so then we started talking about a welcome ebook, that kind of stuff. So you can just see. So then I ask it to make me a document for him and it put it into a document that I copied and pasted and actually emailed to my brother-in-law. So there are lots of ways where you can help people in your life. Kelly's daughter, Rosalie, is a sweet friend of mine. And it wasn't that long ago. I should have even asked, like, has she used it? But like Kelly and I were trying to come up with a way that Rosalie could earn a prize from me. And Rosalie wanted help cleaning her room on her own. And so I used ChatGPT. I told it, like, I have this friend of mine. She's neurospicy like me. Like, can you help me step by step by step how to clean her room and bathroom? Like, even so far as making a list at the beginning of what does she need to gather so that she doesn't have to leave the room and come back and leave the, like, I got to go get the vacuum cleaner and then she's distracted by the cat. Like, all of that kind of stuff. There are lots of different ways that you can use it in real life. I have, I don't know if y'all follow Brenda Stir, but she a couple years ago had some oncology needs. And so she's on this health kick now, and she uses it a lot for like meal prep and eating cleaner. Like ChatGPT has access to all of the information on all of the World Wide Web. That's a lot of information, y'all. So you're gonna have to figure out how to tell it better what you want. Otherwise, it is going to give you back information. It's going to choose out of the fire hose what water it gives you. And you really want to dictate the information that you want better. So,
And can I give a warning? It can be wrong. And if it doesn't know something, it's I think they call it ChatGPT hallucinations. Like it makes up its own thing. Like I was
it
doing
can.
some research on Miss Colorado stuff for an event we had last week, and I was trying to pull up history, and like I was pulling up the history of the last 80 years of Miss Colorado, and it was trying to tell me who they were and what their talents were. And some of them I was like, no, that's not right. That was not Miss Colorado, or her talent was really this and not this. And it would go, oh,
Oh,
you're right. And
yeah.
so I think it might help somebody who searches it again in the future. But
Yeah,
so you can't, like, if you're looking up, I think, historical stuff, sometimes I feel like you got to be careful that it's
you
might
do.
not be giving you accurate information.
Yes. The analogy that I have for that is that you kind of have to know what you're expecting, kind of like how you kind of have to know how to spell a word to find it in the dictionary. If you are looking up phone in the F's, you're never going to find it. So you kind of have to know a little bit more, and it does make mistakes. My nephew, who just got into Walton Rehab, was in a terrible farming accident a couple of weeks ago and ended up having his foot amputated, and he's actually going to rehab right now. I had asked ChatGPT for some podcast recommendations for the family. I had asked for some quotes from Paralympians that I could send to Matthew, like some book recommendations, some movie like all of that kind of stuff. And Scott Hamilton was one of the Olympians. And I was like, he's not a para Olympian. Like, and ChatGPT was like, you're right. I don't know where that came from. So like it isn't human, but it does make mistakes like a human. Um, okay. So how many of you have never opened it? Everybody's used it a tiny bit. Okay, good. Is everyone who is using it at least putting in their phone number or their email so that it is learning a little about you? Or are you just going and just putting it in a non-user guest mode every time? Okay, that's good. That is good. Okay. So has everyone gone through the trouble or the time to at least tell it some things about you? Dina's using guest mode. Girl, I'm going to blow your mind after tonight. So what I recommend, whether you have or you haven't, is to take the time to tell it a little about you and how you want to use it. If it's just family stuff, just tell it family stuff, but tell it a little bit about you. If you don't want to tell it like your age or how many kids you have, you can say, I have a couple of middle school kids, like that kind of stuff. It will help you. The other thing that really made a big difference for me personally was that in the beginning, I would go on my Facebook time hop. And anytime I had kind of written something, back in the day, that was how people blogged or wrote. Like, you would write a big paragraph and I would copy paste it into this one thread where I was teaching ChatGPT how to sound like me, and it would learn from that, and I would go back through Word documents, or blog pieces or whatever. Okay, so the reason that you want to put all of that stuff in one thread, which is what they call a new window, is that the threads don't speak to each other. You have to think of them like silos. So the thread that I used for all of the panelist stuff all stayed in one thread because inside that one thread, the system can read all of it. So keep one thread where you are teaching it your voice, because they don't speak to each other from thread to thread unless you tell it to save it to memory. And so you have a memory bank where it knows the things that you've said, save this. Or sometimes I'll say something like, I want to blah, 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 blah. And it thinks I'm telling it, hey, crackhead, save this to our memory bank. And it'll say memory bank updated. And I'll go into my memory bank and delete it because I didn't mean for that to be like in its memory bank. But anytime that you're working on a project, like a specific project, you stay in that chat thread so that all of that learns from itself. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to show you a couple of other things like I did about Donnie's real estate thing, but I did build in stuff. Like you can unmute and ask a couple of questions if you have any questions before we kind of plug along. Does anybody have any specific questions about a voice or how to kind of truly begin at the very beginning?
And your business and our family. I know for that.
Dottie, are you trying to talk to us?
No.
Okay. 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 So then no questions. I'm going to move on. All right. I'm going to share my screen again. Microsoft Word. There it is. Okay. So this is another thing that I was going to show you. Okay. So foaming cleanser has been on my mind and Billy's team today. So I copy paste.
Maybe.
Go ahead, Dina.
Oops, sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. Okay. So I had looked in the search, like you can look like a magnifying glass. You can, if you remember keywords, you can find things. So I thought I had written something about foaming cleansers where Joanna had given us some verbiage. And when I searched for foaming cleanser, I had 5 different things where I had opened up different things, not remembering I'd already talked about foaming cleanser. So I copy pasted this and it said, here's a polished version. And it says that because I have asked it to be polished. I want it friendly and inviting, but educational. So see this language here. That is because that is what I have asked it to be. So then I copied this whole other thing about foaming cleansers because I want it all in one place. And so now it's working on this post or email or whatever I'm going to do with it about foaming cleanser. So if you discover that you have a very similar topic in 2 different threads, you can copy one of them and put it in the other thread because they don't talk to one another. This one is an example. See how over on the right-hand side where this like alarm light is? I use an emoji, this. Oh, this. I use that if I have blogged about it, so it'll catch my eye. This is an example of I had posted something in an old team space, and it came up in my time hop about halt, how you're not supposed to make decisions when you're hungry or angry or lonely or tired. And it spoke to me again. And so I copied what I had put in like a Tough Talk Tuesday or something. And then I kind of updated it and I asked it to add in some sources. And because I'm working for a skincare company now, I wanted it to add in something about hydration and taking care of your skin, which to me was a perfect fit for hungry, angry, lonely, tired, taking care of yourself, making good choices. And so that is kind of how I came to this. So okay, so this was before the Super Bowl. I said, do I add anything to that? And so then it actually mentioned the Super Bowl. I kept tweaking it. I added, other stuff to it and ask it to add a couple of emojis, a tip about chronic pain, because one of the ways that my orthopedist and I came to a decision to have my knees replaced was that for me, it necessarily was a 5th step. It wasn't hungry or angry or lonely or tired, but chronic pain should be considered one of those things. And if you ever have had any chronic pain, it isn't hungry or angry or lonely or tired, but it is an ever-present shadow over someone's life. And so I ask it to add a little blurb about chronic pain. And then I ask it, am I missing anything? Is it too heavy or too serious? And then I just ask it to put it all together. And that was kind of how we came to that. And so I just shared all of that to say that, like, if you want what you're writing to truly sound like you, and for your entire audience not to go, oh, she discovered ChatGPT. Like, because if people feel that, they won't even read it, right? Because they'll just know. And it isn't about M dashes. It is about your audience knows your voice if you have been speaking to them long enough. And if all of a sudden you introduce this really powerful tool, you're gonna your friends, your followers are going to know that. So, okay. Now I'm going to show you how I use it for business. Okay, so the first one is LinkedIn. Billy's on LinkedIn. I know nobody wants to talk about learning a new platform, but business people are on LinkedIn. And I haven't signed anybody from LinkedIn, but I definitely have 4 or 5 conversations with professional people who, when they feel like we have our stuff together and we're not this shoestring, floundering kind of figuring, you know what I'm talking about, like they're waiting and watching. So Joanna had said something to me about a 28-day cell regeneration in the skin. And you can see that this is not my words. I said, can we just talk about this? And this one sentence of that 8 or 9 words, it came up with this. And I was like, so is it surprising that our creams last for 28 days and we recommend that you like, it's so smart. And so I worked with this, and my desire was to post on LinkedIn, not necessarily Facebook, because those audiences are definitely different. So I just kept working with this. And then let me find it. Sorry. Okay. So this guy commented on it, and it turns out he was a flake. But what I learned was that I could come back to this and share the comment or question that had come up, and ChatGPT helped me answer it. So Fred has commented on my LinkedIn posts before, and I wanted to make sure that I was answering it professionally. And I'll come back and say, can you help me craft the right comment? And so in this chat thread, here it is. So Fred shared a post of mine, and I came back here because like I didn't want to do the wrong thing because I'm really still learning LinkedIn, and ChatGPT gave me some, comments to say under his post, and it got me thinking about how do I use ChatGPT better on LinkedIn? And I kept going through this thing, and it gave me like this library of comments that when people comment on my post, so that it's not always, thank you so much, thank you so much, like a different variety of things. And I realized with that that I had old information in my bio. And so I took a screenshot of my whole profile page and then went back to ChatGPT and said, how can I refresh this? Like, what is the best foot forward with LinkedIn? Like, it's such a different audience. And anytime that I do a post on Facebook or on my blog, I always ask it to like reframe it for LinkedIn. You don't have to rewrite it. You can just in the same thread say, can we refresh this for LinkedIn? Right? I will see something on LinkedIn that really resonates with me and sounds like something I would have said. And so I will copy paste that and put it into ChatGPT and say, this really inspired me. Can I figure out a way to answer this? Like, help me craft a comment of my own. And that is another way that I have developed a relationship with someone who may or may not become a customer or an ambassador, but like it's really it's such a different audience. And the next time that you have space in your brain and life to learn a new platform, I would recommend LinkedIn. Okay,
Quick
Victoria says,
question for you, Lori.
yeah, I'm
So,
reading it out loud. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, do you, so you're saying that you can actually take a screenshot and ChatGPT can work from the image?
Yeah, it
Wow.
reads. Yeah. Yep, 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 yep.
Wow.
It's
Okay,
pretty
thank you.
incredible. Yeah. So you said that your hesitation about LinkedIn for your direct sales is that you also have like a professional job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have to think about that. And honestly, what I would probably do is ask ChatGPT, like tell it, what is your professional career?
It's corporate communications, like at
Okay,
an
so
executive
very
level.
capital J, capital O, capital B, very JOB. Yeah, so then I definitely wouldn't mix them. You could do a second profile. I don't think that's against the rules the way that it is with Facebook. I would ask ChatGPT or ask other professional women that you know that have side gigs.
Okay.
I don't know what the right answer is for that, except to say I wouldn't mix it because your audience is two
Yeah, it's completely different.
completely different audiences. Okay. Realtor.
Right.
Did you have a question, Dottie?
No, I just said that's right. No.
Oh, that's my Dottie, our Dottie. I know which Dottie that is by her voice. Okay. So one more that I was going to show you. Okay, I don't know if you remember this from, oh, and my computer just went to nighttime. So I don't know if you remember this, but in the Power Collective, I posted something really early on, maybe February or March, about the EU standards of makeup and skincare and the US laws. This is where that came from. Like I just asked it, let's compare the EU standards of makeup. And then I kept working with it. I want to see it all together. Oh, that was another trick right there. So I don't know if you've ever tried to copy paste something from any other platform to Facebook and you lose your cute format, like you lose the bold or the italics or emoji. It is because Mark Zuckerberg doesn't like anybody else. He doesn't like anybody on his playground. And so I have learned in ChatGPT, when I'm done with something, I have to ask it for it to be Facebook formatted to trick Mark Zuckerberg. Now I've said that enough that I can just tell my ChatGPT that I'm posting on Facebook to trick Mark. And it will do like a Unicode. It's slower to type it out, but 9 times out of 10 that works. And the cute format and emojis will work. And so in this same thread, that's where I did. Now I need something similar for EU standards versus Canadian. And so it did the exact same thing that I had worked through that might have taken 15 or 20 minutes. Because I'm in that same silo, it kept all of that and did that. Okay, so then I took that same thing about skincare built with US standards and why it matters in the US. And so this is where all of that came from. And in this same thread, somewhere, I took the PDF of our blacklist. Do y'all know what our blacklist is? The ingredients we won't use. Um, Further than the EU laws, we have things that are not even not allowed by the EU standards, but Joanna has a blacklist. And I took those PDFs and I uploaded them to ChatGPT, which is another, not so basic trick. And it will read it. And one of the things, and I think it was the blacklist, Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was in French and I wanted it in English and it translated it for me just like that. So that is another tricky. Okay, so now we've come to the place where we can practice a couple of things. So I want you to, if you can, if you're on your phone, sometimes that's harder, but I want you to put a prompt into ChatGPT. What should I do this weekend? and I'm going to show you that after you have spent some time with ChatGPT, how much better your answer will be. So just what should I do this weekend? Hi, Allison. I saw you come in. And then I am going to show you mine. So all I did was ask it, what should I do this weekend? But because it has learned that I sell skincare, all of the things that it knows in general about my life, can you see the fun things that are totally applicable to me? But if you didn't sign in or you haven't taught it a lot, tell me what yours says.
Okay, so I have taught mine some things.
Okay.
And when I typed in that question, it says, that depends. Are you looking for fun and relaxation, productive and getting things done, or spirit filling and meaningful for this weekend? And then it gives me a list for each category: fun and relaxing, productive and refreshing, or spirit filling and meaning.
That is good. Are most of
Yeah,
them applicable for you?
they are.
That is good.
Yeah, they are.
Somebody else. Is it good stuff? Is it pretty general? Like, how did you fare with ideas for the weekend?
Mine has a few different things: relax and recharge, spa day, cozy up with a good book, go for a long walk, meal prep, and then it has fun and social things. Game night, treat yourself to a dinner out, plan a little day trip, and check out local festival, farmers market.
Have you taught ChatGPT any of the things that you like to do?
Not really, but it's
So
weird
that's
because
probably
there is a little festival in town this week that I've talked about and Facebook knows. And I'm gonna go get my hair done tomorrow, so that is a little weird.
that is weird. Lara, what did yours say?
It started out with the same kind of thing, like just like, do you want to do something adventurous, socialized, or whatever? And I wrote, get things done. We need to declutter the house and get a dumpster. And so then it started a whole thread of order the dumpster, gather supplies. Do you want me to make a checklist for how to do each room? And I'm like, yes, this is what I need to know, all of this, because I am a hoarder, and not literally, but
Y'all been in that house a long time, though.
we've been here 22 years. Yeah.
I was going to say, for those of y'all that don't know, Lara and I have known each other since we were teenagers. Cough, cough. She was high school friends with my very first high school boyfriend. And even though Mark and I broke up, I got to keep Lara out the deal in the mid 80s. So that was cool.
That's right.
Victoria says, piggybacking on my last question, can you train ChatGPT to create content in different hats? Absolutely. What you would have to do is create not necessarily two different profiles, but you could tell it, this is for work. This is for Victoria, the corporate girl, and it will pull from those two different things. The other thing that you could do is just use a different email and have two different accounts if you didn't want to try and remember, or you really wanted two completely different profiles. That's how you could do that.
Thank you.
Billy says I call that, maximalist. Oh, about the clutter. Yeah. So can you see though that I think everyone else, it asked questions. It needed more information. Whereas for me, it didn't ask me any more information. It really took, like, all of these things are pretty Lorri oriented. So that was one thing that I wanted to show you.
I like what it said about is your sass and suggestions is what it said, something like that.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing too, is that if you don't want it to be super conversational with you, then it will mirror you. If you are kind and you say please and thank you, it will reflect that back to you. If you want to stay super clinical, it will do that. If you use a lot of fun language, it will mirror that back to you. It really complements however you treat it. I don't, I'm not somebody who likes to go to scary movies. I don't volunteer to be scared. I don't volunteer to be yelled at. And so I definitely speak kindly to it because I want it to be kind to me. But the flip side of that is that I have to tell it to not blow smoke up my skirt. Like when it is responding to me about things, if it ever says, that's the best thing ever. And I was like, oh, you say that to all the girls. You know that I want it to be honest. I want it to play devil's advocate. I want it to, you know what I'm saying? That like I want it to be that because I'm using it for work most of the time. I mean, I use it for meal prep or Brian and I are thinking about downsizing. And so I was talking to it about, you know, a home versus a condo, like that kind of stuff. But like, I still want it to be kind, but I also want it to be super honest and not just be me right back to me. Like I already have access to me. I'm using a tool for a different purpose.
I will
Okay.
say after the conference, and I started brain dumping into Chat GPT to get ready to go out of town for the wedding the next weekend.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna start telling you things, and we're just gonna brain dump. And I start talking about what I needed to tell the pack, what I needed to take with us, what I needed to tell the house sitter, what the dog sitter needed to know. And it like came out with this list with check boxes, and I was like, this is the part of my brain that I've missed my whole life.
Yeah.
And yeah, my daughter-in-law had a 5-page checklist for every minute of the wedding. And I asked my son, I'm like, did she use Chat GPT or is this how her brain works? And he went, no, that's how her brain works. I'm like, oh, I don't have that gene. He went, yes,
Yeah.
I know either.
Yeah. States was like, yes, yes, you are correct. You do not. But that's what I mean about, I really think that in social selling, I think that people like us are, it is appealing to us, women that want a side gig or want to, you know, add to their family. Like it is more often than not a little, does everybody know what I mean when I say a neurospicy? Like, you know, you just, being able to brain dump is my favorite thing about it. And the fact that I can go into a thread and tell it I want it to work on something. And then I go to another thread and I might not go back to that for an hour or a day or a week or a month. And it isn't a human. So I haven't asked it to spend time on something. And then I didn't come back for, like, if you were at work and you ask your editor or house manager or a virtual assistant to work on something and then you didn't come back to it for a month, they'd be so mad that they had spent time on that. But that's my favorite thing about it. Like it doesn't care at all. I still come back and I say, I'm so sorry I asked you to do this and I haven't come back. And it was like, girl, I'm just waiting on you. I just been right here. Let's go. And it's just so nice that it doesn't get mad at me. Yes, neurospicy. Okay, so I'm gonna show you. Nope, that isn't what I meant to do. Oh, how do I find you again? Where is Zoom? Okay, there it is. Share. Um, that is not what I wanted. How do I find it? Oh, if I go down here. Okay, can you see this still? Okay. This is the QR code up here on the upper right. And I'll share it in the other space too, but I'm going to teach you a trick. So you can take a picture of a QR code on your phone and open it up. So the top one is the ebook that I made to go along with all of this. And then the bottom one is the Spotify list. Did you know, and I'm going to show you this way, So instead of opening it,
I don't think we're seeing the right thing, Lori.
oh, you don't see it?
Well, we see it was like favorites and then a bunch of icons.
Oh no, that is definitely not the right thing. Hang on, I'm sorry. Favorites. Finder. Oh, there we go. Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. So a lot of people don't know this, but if somebody texts you a QR code and you're like, how am I gonna do that on my phone? So here's a freebie. So this is just the picture, and you can hold it down with your finger, and it pops up open in Safari. And that's the ebook. So if somebody has ever texted you and you're like, how can I use my camera and the pictures on my camera?
And Android does it a little bit differently.
Yeah,
You
but it
push,
still has the same capability. You still hold it down, right?
yeah, and a little camera icon comes up.
Yeah.
So
So
you have
can
to be in
share
Google
it.
Photos.
You just push it and it comes up open in Safari and it opens up. Did anybody have any questions? Did you learn something? Dina, I can't wait for you to create an account, even for a free one, with your phone number or email. And then in the ebook, and I'll put it in the event too, if for some reason it doesn't work or you didn't want to go to my blog or whatever, like that's not what it's about. I want you to have the information. But in there, there's some really step-by-step instructions of how to set up your profile. Dina, when do y'all go back to school? Oh, she must have walked away. Love the table talk. Oh, you're welcome. All right, I think that's it. I'm going to stop recording.